Well, good morning or evening or whatever it happens to be where you are because we're doing this the screwed up way again through YouTube. Um, my Facebook has been weird all evening and I'm not really sure why. I can't get on for reasons I don't quite understand. So I just got sick of trying. So I am just going to go ahead and do this on YouTube and post it on the face. I'll try to post it on Facebook a little bit later. By the time you read this, I will be dead. No, and that's gonna get flagged now. It's gonna be a whole thing, but no, I've already, by the time you read this, I will have already sent this to Kelly at work as a I'll text it to her as a link um, to my YouTube to the video of this on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. I don't do anything with it besides this. Um, and I mean, even these last two times have just been, in emergencies. So, um, but she will have seen it on there, and then you're welcome to click on it here if I can ever get it on Facebook. Which hopefully I should be able to sometime tomorrow. But so we can't do this the interactive way, which is more fun because once in a while you guys do show up, and it's always great to see people on here. But we'll just have to do it this way today, and then hopefully going forward, we should have this straightened out. I don't know what the deal is, but anyway, but the no offense to the rest of you, but the most important person who needs to see this, or the person who most needs to see this, is the person who it's dedicated to, which is my wife Kelly, because she's the one I do these recordings for. I love that you all come to see them too, all both of you. Basically Barbara, basically my godmother, and occasionally one other of you. But it's great when you guys are here. But taking nothing away from any of you, these are made special for my wife. So um, because it's to make her feel special because she's gonna be stuck at work all day and she has to get up at you know the before the crack of dawn. She I mean, whatever you would consider too early to me, yeah, that's when she has to get up for work. Um, so she has to be in at this ridiculous hour, and then comes home and immediately jumps into four kids and then me and all the rest of it. So, honey, if this helps take the edge, as always, if this helps take the edge off, if this makes the day a little easier for you, then I have done my job as your husband. So yeah. So we're gonna pick up with chapter 3 of Death on the Nile. I never even said what book we're doing here. Yes, it's Death on the Nile by by Agatha Christie. We finished chapter 2 last time out, so we're picking up here with chapter 3. Um, Already getting a rogues gallery of suspects lined up. Again, I've never read this, so I don't know. If you're new to this, then you're going to be on this journey with me. Kelly says she has read it once a while back. I don't think she remembers too much about it, according to what she said. But she loves Agatha Christie. She loves Hercule, who's the Hercule Poirot, who's the sleuth in this one. And I've taken to him as well. I've never read Death on the Nile, and I've never. This is my first Agatha Christie book, so I know who Hercule Poirot is, mostly from uh, the mystery television series that was on PBS a few years ago. I don't know if it still is, but they did adaptations of. They did a bunch of really great adaptations of the Sherlock Holmes stories, and they did a few Agatha Christie ones as well, starring Poirot. So I basically know him from that. But I like him already. But he's well into our story, but also we've got a whole bunch of suspects being lined up. And again, I don't even know who's going to be killed yet. I assume it's Leonard Ridgway from what we've read so far, but maybe I'm wrong. It seems like Jacqueline de Belfort is kind of our prime suspect because uh, she's an ex-girlfriend of Lynette's husband. Um, there's that crowd coming in from New York, the lawyers or the trustees that seem a little fishy. Um, Tim Allerton and his mother. Uh, who's the Rosalie? Again, this is all new to me too. This is the first time I've done one of these readings where I wasn't familiar with the book beforehand. Um, so so it's new. It's all an adventure for me too. So let's get back into it and see what's happening with all these weirdos. Again, because this is new to me, even more than normal. I mean, this is going to be a serious work in progress. The accents are going to change, and I'll stop and start and trip over sentences and lose my place and stuff like that. I'm not trying to do this. I mean, I read it. I read over it as much as I can. I try to preview it as much as I can beforehand, but life gets in the way. But it's not meant to be super polished. I do the best I can. Just reading this to my wife. I would love it if I could read it to her live, but our schedules are so completely different that it's hard to work. This is the closest we can come. So please bear with me. Again, as I said, I will make mistakes all through it, but this is Agatha Christie. This is one of the giants of the genre. This is one of the great mystery stories, or so I've been told, and I'm loving it so far. So I can't screw this up. The writing's too good. Don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to what Agatha Christie's writing here. There might be scenes involving graphic sex or violence or strong language. It'll be as much a surprise to me as it will be to you. So I'll have to tell you watch out for them or not watch out for them. But I don't know. I haven't read this before. So anything else? Cultural stuff? I don't know. I've never read this before. And I haven't read it yet, and we're 7 minutes into this. So let's get going. Chapter 3 of Death on the Nile, dedicated by Agatha Christie, dedicated as always to my remarkable wife, Kelly. Honey, again, I hope you like it. I hope it makes your day easier. That's the whole point. And I hope everybody else likes it too, but mostly, honey, it's for you. Okay, let's get going. Chapter 3. Dinner was over. The terrace outside the Cataract Hotel was softly lit. Most of the guests staying at the hotel were sitting at little tables. Simon and Lynette Doyle came out, a tall, distinguished-looking, gray-haired man with a keen, clean-shaven American face beside them. As the little group hesitated in the doorway, Tim Allerton rose from his chair nearby and came forward. "You don't remember me, I'm sure," he said pleasantly to Lynette, "but I'm Joanna Southwood's cousin." "Of course! How stupid of me. You're Tim Allerton. This is my husband." A faint tremor in the voice. Pride, shyness. "And this is my American trustee, Mr. Pennington." Tim said, "You must meet my mother." A few minutes later, they were sitting together in a party. Lynette in the corner, Tim and Pennington each side of her, both talking to her, vying for her attention. Mrs. Allerton talked to Simon Doyle. The swing doors revolved. A sudden tension came into the beautiful, upright figure sitting in the corner between the two men. Then it relaxed as a small man came out and walked across the terrace. Mrs. Allerton said, "You're not the only celebrity here, my dear. That funny little man is Hercule Poirot." She had spoken lightly, just out of instinctive social tact to bridge an awkward pause, but then it seemed struck by the information. "Hercule Poirot? Of course. I've heard of him." She seemed to sink into a fit of abstraction. The two men on either side of her were momentarily at a loss. Poirot had strolled across to the edge of the terrace, but his attention was immediately solicited. "Sit down, Monsieur Poirot. What a lovely night." He obeyed. "Mais oui, madame, it is indeed beautiful." He smiled politely at Mrs. Otterbourne. "What draperies of black linen? Is it black linen? I think I'm gonna go with that. Again, I haven't read this before. What draperies of black linen and that ridiculous turban effect?" Mrs. Otterbourne went on in her high, complaining voice. "Quite a lot of notabilities here now, aren't there? I expect we shall see a paragraph about it in the paper soon. Society beauties, famous novelists." She paused with a slight, mock-modest laugh. Poirot felt rather than saw the sulky, frowning girl opposite him flinch and set her mouth in a sulkier line than before. "You have a novel on the way at present, madame?" he inquired. Mrs. Otterbourne gave her a little self-conscious laugh again. "I'm being dreadfully lazy. I really must set to. My public is getting terribly impatient, and my publisher, poor man, appeals by every post, even cables. Again he felt the girl shift in the darkness. I don't mind telling you, Monsieur Poirot, I am here for local colour. Snow on the Desert's Face. That is the title of my new book. Powerful, suggestive. Snow on the desert, melted in the first flaming breath of passion. Rosalie got up, muttering something, and moved away down into the dark garden. One must be strong, went on Mrs. Ottimer, wagging the turban emphatically. Strong meat, that is what my books are, all important. Libraries banned, no matter. I speak the truth. Sex. Ah, Monsieur Poirot, why is everyone so afraid of sex? The pivot of the universe. You have read my books. Alas, madame, you comprehend I do not read many novels. My work, Mrs. Ottimer said firmly. I must give you a copy of Under the Fig Tree. I think you will find it significant. It is outspoken, but it is real. That is most kind of you, madame. I will read it with pleasure. Mrs. Ottimer was silent a minute or two. She fidgeted with a long chain of beans that was wound twice round her neck. She looked swiftly from side to side. Perhaps, I'll just slip up and get it for you now. Oh, madame, pray do not trouble yourself. Later. No, it's no trouble. She rose. I'd like to show you. What is it, mother? Rosalie was suddenly at her side. Nothing, dear. I was just going up to get a book for Monsieur Poirot. The fig tree? I'll get it. You don't know what it is, dear. I'll go. Yes, I do. The girl went swiftly across the terrace and into the hotel. Let me congratulate you, madame, on a very lovely daughter, said Poirot with a bow. Rosalie? Yes, she is good-looking, but she's very hard. She's very hard, Monsieur Poirot, and no sympathy with illness. She always thinks she knows best. She imagines she knows more about my health than I do myself. Poirot signaled to a passing waiter. A liqueur, madame? A chartreuse? A crème de menthe? Mrs. Ottimer shook her head vigorously. No, I'm practically a teetotaler. You may have noticed I never drink anything but water, or perhaps lemonade. I cannot bear the taste of spirits. Then may I order you a lemon squash, madame? He gave the order, 1 lemon squash and 1 Benedictine. The swing door revolved. Rosalie passed through and came towards them, a book in her hand. Here you are, she said. Her voice was quite expressionless, almost remarkably so. Monsieur Poirot has just ordered me a lemon squash, said her mother. And you, mademoiselle, what will you take? Nothing, she added, suddenly conscious of the curtness. Nothing, thank you. Poirot took the volume which Mrs. Ottimer held out to him. It still bore its original jacket, a gaily covered affair representing a lady with smartly shingled hair and scarlet fingernails, sitting on a tiger skin in the traditional costume of Eve. Above her was a tree with the leaves of an oak, bearing large and improbably colored apples. It was entitled Under the Fig Tree, by Salome Otterborn. Sorry, I look a mess. On the inside was a publisher's blurb. It spoke enthusiastically of the superb courage and realism of this study of a modern woman's love life. Fearless, unconventional, realistic were the adjectives used. Poirot bowed and murmured, I am honored, madame. As he raised his head, his eyes met those of the authoress's daughter. Almost involuntarily, he made a little movement. He was astonished and grieved at the eloquent pain they revealed. It was at that moment that the drinks arrived and created a welcome diversion. Poirot lifted his glass gallantly. À votre santé, madame, mademoiselle. Mrs. Ottimer, sipping her lemonade, murmured, So refreshing, delicious. Silence fell on the three of them. They looked down to the shining black rocks on the Nile. There was something fantastic about them in the moonlight. They were like vast, prehistoric monsters lying half out of the water. A little breeze came up suddenly and as suddenly died away. There was a feeling in the air of hush, of expectancy. Hercule Poirot brought his gaze back to the terrace and its occupants. Was he wrong? Was there the same hush of expectancy there? It was like a moment on the stage when one is waiting for the entrance of the leading lady. Just at that moment, the swing doors began to revolve once more. This time it seemed as though they did so with a special air of importance. Everyone had stopped talking and was looking towards them. A dark, slender girl in a wine-colored evening frock came through. She paused for a minute, then walked deliberately across the terrace and sat down at an empty table. There was nothing flaunting, nothing out of the way about her demeanor, and yet it somehow had the slighted effect of a stage entrance. "Well," said Mrs. Otterborn. She turned her turbaned head. "She seems to think she is somebody, that girl." Poirot did not answer. He was watching. The girl had sat down in a place where she could not look deliberately across at Linnet Doyle. Presently, Poirot noticed, Linnet Doyle leant forward and said something, and a moment later got up and changed her seat. She was now sitting facing in the opposite direction. Poirot nodded thoughtfully to himself. It was about 5 minutes later that the other girl changed her seat to the opposite side of the terrace. She sat smoking and smiling quietly, the picture of contented ease. But always, as though unconsciously, her meditative gaze was on Simon Doyle's wife. After a quarter of an hour, Linnet Doyle got up abruptly and went into the hotel. Her husband followed her almost immediately. Jacqueline de Belfort smiled and twisted her chair round. She lit a cigarette and stared out over the Nile. She went on, smiling to herself. That was actually kind of quick for a chapter. Let me see, is chapter 4 kind of long? Seems like it might be. Because I'm still scrolling here. That's not too bad. Let's give it a try. Why not? Let's live a little. Because that was a little faster than I expected it to be. And God knows what's going to happen the next time I try to post anything on Facebook, so try to get it all done here. Well, not all of it, but get another chapter done. Just pass. Thank you for bearing with me. Honey, you're always very good about bearing with me in everything, so. Okay, here we go. Chapter 4. Monsieur Poirot. Poirot got hastily to his feet. He had remained sitting out on the terrace alone after everyone else had left. Lost in meditation, he had been staring at the smooth, shiny black rocks when the sound of his name recalled him to himself. It was a well-bred, assured voice, a charming voice, although perhaps a trifle arrogant. Hercule Poirot, rising quickly, looked into the commanding eyes of Linnet Doyle. She wore a wrap of rich purple velvet over her white satin gown, and she looked more lovely and more regal than Poirot had imagined possible. "You are Monsieur Hercule Poirot?" said Linnet. It was hardly a question. "At your service, madame." "You know who I am, perhaps?" "Yes, madame, I have heard your name. I know exactly who you are." Linnet nodded. That was only what she had expected. She went on in her charming, autocratic manner. "Will you come with me into the card-room, Monsieur Poirot? I am very anxious to speak to you." "Certainly, madame." She led the way into the hotel. He followed. She led him into the deserted card-room and motioned him to close the door. Then she sank down on a chair at one of the tables, and he sat down opposite her. She plunged straight away into what she wanted to say. There were no hesitations. Her speech came flowingly. "Thanks for the stage directions, Agatha." "I have heard a great deal about you, Monsieur Poirot, and I know that you are a very clever man. It happens that I am urgently in need of someone to help me, and I think very possibly that you are the man who would do it." Poirot inclined his head. "You are very amiable, madame, but you see I am on holiday. When I am on holiday, I do not take cases." "That could be arranged." It was not offensively said, only with the quiet confidence of a young woman who had always been able to arrange matters to her satisfaction. Then Doyle went on. "I am the subject, Monsieur Poirot, of an intolerable persecution. That persecution has got to stop. My own idea was to go to the police about it, but My husband seems to think the police would be powerless to do anything. Perhaps, if you would explain a little further, murmured Poirot politely. Oh, yes, I will do so. The matter is perfectly simple. There was still no hesitation, no faltering. Linnet Doyle had a clear-cut, business-like mind. She paused only a minute so as to present the facts as concisely as possible. Before I met my husband, he was engaged to a Miss de Belfort. She was also a friend of mine. My husband broke off his engagement to her. They were not suited in any way. She, I am sorry to say, took it rather hard. I am very sorry about that. But these things cannot be helped. She made certain, threats. Let me try that again. She made certain, threats, to which I paid very little attention, and which I may say she has not attempted to carry out. But instead she has adopted the extraordinary course of following us about, wherever we go. Poirot raised his eyebrows. Huh? Rather an unusual revenge. Very unusual, and very ridiculous, but also annoying. She bit her lip. Poirot nodded. Yes, I can imagine that. You are, I understand, on your honeymoon? Yes, it happened the first time at Venice. She was there, at Danieli's. I thought it was just coincidence. Rather embarrassing, but that was all. Then we found her on board the boat at Brindisi. We understood that she was going on to Palestine. We left her as we thought on the boat. But when we got to Mina House, she was there, waiting for us. Poirot nodded. And now? We came up the Nile by boat. I was half expecting to find her on board. When she wasn't there, I thought she'd stop being so childish. But when we got here, she was here, waiting. Poirot eyed her keenly for a moment. She was still perfectly composed, but the knuckles of the hand that was gripping the table were white with the force of her grip. He said, And you are afraid this state of things may continue? Yes. She paused. Of course the whole thing is idiotic. Jacqueline is making herself utterly ridiculous. I am surprised she hasn't got more pride, more dignity. Poirot made a slight gesture. There are times, madame, when pride and dignity, they go by the board. There are other, stronger emotions. Yes, possibly. Linnet spoke impatiently. But what on earth can she hope to gain by all this? It is not always a question of gain, madame. Something in his tone struck Linnet disagreeably. She flushed and said quickly, You are right. A discussion of motives is beside the point. The crux of the matter is that this has got to be stopped. And how do you propose that should be accomplished, madame? Poirot asked. Well, naturally, my husband and I cannot continue being subjected to this annoyance. There must be some kind of legal redress against such a thing. She spoke impatiently. Poirot looked at her thoughtfully as he asked, Has she threatened you in actual words in public? Used insulting language? Attempted bodily harm? No. Then frankly, madame, I do not see what you can do. If it is a young lady's pleasure to travel in certain places, and those places are the same where you and your husband find themselves, eh bien, what of it? The air is free to all. There is no question of her forcing herself upon your privacy. It's always in public that these encounters take place. You mean that there is nothing I can do about it? Linnet sounded. Let me try that again. You mean there is nothing I can do about it? Linnet sounded incredulous. Poirot said placidly, Nothing at all, as far as I can see. Mademoiselle de Belfort is within her rights. But it is maddening. It is intolerable that I should have put up with this. Poirot said dryly, I must sympathize with you, madame, especially as I imagine that you have not often had to put up with things. Linnet was frowning. Must be some way of stopping it, she murmured. Okay, can I just pause for a second here? There's no legal redress. This is stalking, right? This is clearly stalking. But Poirot's right. She hasn't made any actual threats or in word or deed. So, but still, I mean, you think In this day and age, would you be able to get a restraining order for this kind of thing, especially given their history? I don't know. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Or, honey, just tell me when I see you tonight. For the 10 minutes we'll get to see each other. You know, I'm going to be working tomorrow night kind of late, and she has to go to bed early. Anyway, that's why we're doing this. Where was I before? Yeah, there must be some way of stopping it, she murmured. Poirot shrugged his shoulders. You can always leave. Move on somewhere else, he suggested. Then she will follow. Very possibly, yes. It's absurd. Precisely. Anyway, why should we, run away? As though... She stopped. Exactly, madame. As though. It is all there, is it not? Lynette lifted her head and stared at him. What do you mean? Poirot altered his tone. He leaned forward. His voice was confidential, appealing. He said, very gently, Why do you mind so much, madame? Why? Because it's maddening, irritating to the last degree. I've told you why. Poirot shook his head. Not altogether. What do you mean? Lynette asked again. Poirot leaped back, folded his arms, and spoke in an attached... try again. Poirot leaped back, folded his arms, and spoke in a detached, impersonal manner. Écoutez, madame. I will recount you a little history. It is that one day, a month or two ago, I am dining in a restaurant in London. At the table next to me are two people, a man and a girl. They are very happy, so it seems, very much in love. They talk with confidence of the future. It is not that I listen to what is not meant for me. They are quite oblivious of who hears them and who does not. The man's back is to me, but I can watch the girl's face. It is very intense. She's love, heart, soul, and body. And she's not of those who love lightly and often. With her, it is clearly the life and the death. They are engaged to be married, these two. That's what I gather. And they talk of where they shall pass the days of their honeymoon. They plan to go to Egypt. He paused. Lynette said sharply, Well? Poirot went on. That is a month or two ago, but the girl's face, I do not forget it. I know that I shall remember it if I see it again, and I remember too the man's voice. And I think you can guess, madame, when it is I see the one and hear the other again. It is here in Egypt. The man is on his honeymoon, yes, but he is on his honeymoon with another woman. Lynette said sharply, What of it? I had already mentioned the facts. The facts, yes. Well, then, Poirot said slowly. The girl in the restaurant mentioned a friend who, she was very positive, would not let her down. That friend, I think, was you, madame. Yes, I told you we'd been friends. Lynette flushed. And she trusted you? Yes. She hesitated for a moment, biting her lip impatiently. Then, as Poirot did not seem disposed to speak, she broke out. Of course, the whole thing was very unfortunate. But these things happen, Monsieur Poirot. Ah, yes, they happen, madame. He paused. You are of the Church of England, I presume? Yes. Lynette looked slightly bewildered. Then you have heard portions of the Bible read aloud in church. You have heard of King David and of the rich man who had many flocks and herds, and the poor man who had the one ewe lamb. For the rich man took the poor man's one ewe lamb. That was something that happened, madame. Lynette sat up. Her eyes flashed angrily. I see perfectly what you are driving at, Monsieur Poirot. You think, to put it vulgarly, that I stole my friend's young man. Looking at the matter sentimentally, which is, I suppose, the way people of your generation cannot help looking at things. That is possibly true. But the real, hard truth is different. I don't deny that Jackie was passionately in love with Simon, but I don't think you take into account that he may have been equally devoted to her. That he may not have been equally devoted to her. He was very fond of her, but I think that even before he met me, he was beginning to feel that he had made a mistake. Look at it clearly, Monsieur Poirot. Simon discovers that it is I he loves, not Jackie. What is he to do? Be heroically noble and marry a woman he does not care for, and thereby probably ruin 3 lives? For it is doubtful whether he could make Jackie happy under those circumstances. If he were actually married to her when he met me, I agree that it might be his duty to stick to her, though I'm not really sure of that. If one person is unhappy, then the other suffers too. But an engagement is not really binding. If a mistake has been made, then surely it is better to face the facts before it is too late. I admit that it was very hard on Jackie, and I'm very sorry about it. But there it is. It was inevitable. I wonder. She stared at him. What do you mean? It is very sensible, very logical, all that you say. But it does not explain one thing. What is that? Your own attitude, madame. See you, this pursuit of you, you might take it in 2 ways. It might cause you annoyance, yes. Or it might stir your pity. That your friend should have been so deeply hurt as to try that again. That your friend should have been so deeply hurt as to throw all regard for the conventions aside. But that is not the way you react. No. To you, this persecution is intolerable. And why? It can be for one reason only. That you feel a sense of guilt. Lynette sprang to her feet. How dare you! Really, Monsieur Poirot, this is going too far. But I do dare, madame. I am going to speak to you quite frankly. I suggest to you that although you may have endeavored to gloss over the fact to yourself, you did deliberately set about taking your husband from your friend. I suggest that you felt strongly attracted to him at once. But I suggest that there was a moment when you hesitated, when you realized that there was a choice, that you could refrain or go on. I suggest that the initiative rested with you, not with Monsieur Doyle. You are beautiful, madame. You are rich, you are clever, intelligent. You have charm. You could have exercised that charm, or you could have restrained it. You had everything, madame, that life can offer. Your friend's life was bound up in one person. You knew that, but though you hesitated, you did not hold your hand. You stretched it out, and, like the rich man in the Bible, you took the poor man's one ewe lamb. There was silence. Lynette controlled herself with an effort and said in a cold voice, "Oh, this is quite beside the point." "No, it is not beside the point. I am explaining to you just why the unexpected appearances of Mademoiselle de Belfort have upset you so much. It is because that though she may be unwomanly and undignified in what she is doing, you have the inner conviction that she has right on her side." "That's not true." Poirot shrugged his shoulders. "You refuse to be honest with yourself." "Not at all," Poirot said gently. "I should say, madame, that you have had a happy life, that you have been generous and kindly in your attitude towards others." "I have tried to be," said Lynette. The impatient anger died out of her face. She spoke simply, almost forlornly. "And that is why the feeling that you have deliberately caused injury to someone upsets you so much, and why you are so reluctant to admit the fact. Pardon me if I have been impertinent, but the psychology, it is the most important fact in a case." Lynette said slowly, even supposing what you say were true, and I don't admit it, mind, what can be done about it now? One can't alter the past. One must deal with things as they are." Poirot nodded. "You have the clear brain. Yes, one cannot go back over the past. One must accept things as they are. And sometimes, madame, that is all one can do. Accept the consequences of one's past deeds." "You mean," said Lynette incredulously, "that I can do nothing? Nothing?" "You must have courage, madame. That is what it seems like to me." Lynette said slowly, "Couldn't you talk to Jackie? To Miss de Belfort? Reason with her? Yes, I could do that. I will do that if you would like me to do so. But do not expect much result. I fancy that Mademoiselle de Belfort is so much in the grip of a fixed idea that nothing will turn her from it. But surely we can do something to extricate ourselves. You could, of course, return to England and establish yourselves in your own house. Even then, I suppose Jacqueline is capable of planting herself in the village that I should see her every time I went out to the grounds. True. Besides, said Leonard slowly, I don't think that Simon would agree to run away. What is his attitude in this? He's furious. Simply furious. Poirot nodded thoughtfully. Leonard said appealingly, You will talk to her? Yes, I will do that. But it is my opinion that I shall not be able to accomplish anything. Leonard said violently, Jackie is extraordinary. One can't tell what she will do. You spoke just now of certain threats she had made. Would you tell me what those threats were? Leonard shrugged her shoulders. She threatened to, well, kill us both. Okay, now you can get a restraining order. Come on, what's going on here? Jackie can be rather Latin sometimes. I see. Poirot's tone was grave. Leonard turned to him appealingly. You will act for me? No, madame. His tone was firm. I will not accept a commission from you. I will do what I can in the interest of humanity. That, yes. There is here a situation that is full of difficulty and danger. I will do what I can to clear it up, but I am not very sanguine as to my chance of success. Leonard Doyle said slowly, But you will act for me. No, madame, said Hercule Poirot. Man, I love that Belgian. He is so cool. I said before, I'm not a big mystery guy. Again, I like Sherlock Holmes. That's about it. The person to whom this is dedicated is the mystery expert. But I don't think it's a genius. I don't think I'm saying. I don't think I'm saying anything here that hasn't been said many other times before. That for a mystery, it's the sleuth has got to be your ace. The sleuth has got to be the best part about the book. And boy, so far he is. And I know my accent is all over the French-speaking world, but it is fun to do it. I'm really afraid I sound like something between Pepe Le Pew and Inspector Clouseau, but he is fun to read for. He's fun to play. The whole thing's been fun so far. All right. Honey, this is a great idea. This is a great choice. I'm really into this. I'm dying to see what happens next. But not tonight, because we are going to wrap it up there after chapters 3 and 4 of Death on the Nile by Agatha Christie. I will get this up on Facebook somehow or other. I will post the link on my page whenever I can. And when I do, jump on, give me a comment, tell me what you think. What we've read so far, or the performance, such as it is, if you're absolutely scandalized by how bad my accent, not just the French accent, but the English accents are kind of all over the place too, that's okay. Go ahead and tell me that. But I would love, seriously, if this turned into like a little book club kind of discussion. So whatever you got, lay it on me. In the meantime, honey, again, I hope you got a chance to see some of this, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it helped you out in some way at some point during the day, because supporting you and distracting you are like the two things I'm good at distracting you. I do my best at supporting you. So hopefully this did at least one of those two things for you during the day. But I love you. I hope you liked it. And everyone else, I'm very fond of you as well. Not as much, but I hope you liked it too. I'll try to be back more conventionally tomorrow. at some point with Chapter 5. Maybe more, depending on how long Chapter 5 is. Again, this is all new to me, too. This is all unexplored territory. So, but I will try to be back with another recording tomorrow night. In the meantime, as always, stay safe, fight the good fight. Good night.